Hey, it's 6 o'clock, time to call the order of meeting here of the Mount Pleasant Municipal Planning Commission meeting. I'd ask you to stand at this time. Bobby Nutter do the invocation and Ms. Jackie Granberry do our pledge.
Right. God, thank you for this day that you provided to us, and dear God, we're so thankful for the recent rain that you have also provided for us. And as we're entering these holiday seasons, dear Lord, let us be mindful and reflect and be thankful on the many blessings you provide us from time to time. Dear God, we continue to ask you to watch over our men and women in uniform and our first responders and keep them out of harm's way. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Let the minutes reflect, we do have enough members present for a quorum. Item number 3 is approval of agenda.
Make a motion, we approve the agenda.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 4, approval of minutes for our meeting, October the 11th, 2022.
Make a motion.
I got a motion,
A second.
a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 5, plat approval. This time I'll turn it to Rodney.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair, on the agenda tonight, 2021-C-071 final plat. Regent Homes has submitted the final plat for the Sugar Creek subdivision phase 3. The property is further identified on the tax map, 133 parcel 009.00. In you guys' packets, I did furnish you with some bids and a road topping bond or letter of credit that was issued because 90% of these subdivisions, the base is done, the asphalt is in. They wait till most of the heavy trucks are out of there before they put the topping on to keep from messing the topping up. So that's what that letter of credit is. We still need a letter of credit on the one that the issue that has not been completely constructed, which is a storm drain. The owner's here now. He can talk more in specifics on that. But it is 25% of the cost of the construction, which Planning Commission sets. Doing the math on that, the storm, take that back, it's 25% plus 15% for inflation.
And
So
the 25% is the remaining cost to complete the storm water system.
right, and that equates to about $79,000, a little over $79,000, $79,365.78 to be exact, which they will be required to get a bond for that. In case they don't finish that, the city has the money for that to finish that. And then there is a water maintenance bond, which is a year-long thing. So we took the cost of the water project, which is in the package, and had 25% of that. So that's bond for, which is $72,696.50, which will be for a year for the water. If anything happens, we can't get a hold of them to fix the problem. That's the money that the city pulls from. So the city is not out any money to fix anything for a year for that subdivision. The third one will be for the sanitation sewer, which is a 2-year maintenance contract, which will be for $73,715.68, and it's a 2-year maintenance bond, which is required through our water specs and our sewer specs to have a maintenance year, which comes from TDEC. So that's what is on the agenda tonight
What's the 15% above the 25?
for inflation.
Okay, and that's on each of them?
No, ma'am. That's just on the thing, the only system that is not complete.
Okay.
So
So help me understand this. We're looking for a final plat approval on things that are not finished.
Yes, and that's the reason why you have a bond to put that in place.
But we only have one of the bonds.
So
The one bond will be for that's not been completed.
Okay.
And that's the storm drain, or the storm water.
So there's only one thing not completed,
Yes,
right?
there's only
Okay,
one
that's
thing
why
that
we
is
only have one
not,
bond.
yeah,
Well, there's two things, stormwater and the final paving.
yes, in the final paving, which we had the letter
Right.
created on for the final paving.
All right, okay.
So y'all's subdivision regs say that when a final plat comes before you, you can do one of two things. You can either require that all public improvements have to be installed and dedicated prior to signing the plat, so you can withhold signing the plat, or you can, which was what Rodney's proposing, is that you can require the developer to submit an adequate performance bond prior to signing the final subdivision plat. So what he's done is he's gone back and looked at what has to be completed in order for this plat to be completely done. And it goes through in your subdivision regs and says what you need to do is calculate that cost, and he's got two bids,
2
right?
minutes, yeah. There we go.
Two bids on it, and then
Right.
add 15% to that for inflation. So that should adequately cover the city in the event that they just didn't finish it for whatever reason.
Okay.
So the remaining to be completed is, like Bobby said, it's just the top coat and also the storm water system. And then it's confusing that the sewer lines are done, water lines are done, and what they're proposing is to dedicate them and then have the city accept those. So they'll be the city's property starting when the commission accepts it, but there'll be a maintenance bond in place over the next 1 or 2 years for
Depending on-
sewer.
Yeah, okay. So it's a 1 or 2 year guarantee that
Yeah.
everything's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
On the final paving, who makes the call when that should happen? Like some places are 70% built out or 80% built out. Who makes that determination when
The-
final paving should happen?
Which the developer is here, Mr. Andy, he can speak more to that. Most of the time, whenever you build out where you're not running these heavy trucks in and out on these smaller roads or this finished road, that's usually when they do the top coat.
So who makes that call?
Y'all.
Okay.
So y'all are the ones that decide whether the plat gets signed tonight. And so you are the one that actually sets the bond. So you would be able to say, yes, this is how much bond we need, and this is what it's for and for how long and all that. So y'all are the ones that set that.
I just know in past that my experience, I ran into situations where it was said at 80% or 90% built out. Well, they don't sell 10 homes or build 5, then
So-
technically they don't have, they just keep re-rolling the letter of credit. Usually in a downturn in the market, that's where that happens.
Right.
That's my experience in the past. So I just didn't know if there was anything on the city side of going, it's 80% built out or 2 years where there's a deadline of
I don't,
homes fall through, then it's still got to be paid.
I didn't see any requirement in your subdivision regs, but y'all are the ones that set the bond. So I can assume that you could set the stipulations with it as well.
I would think you'd want it maybe 90% at least.
It depends. I mean, it depends on how long you want to sit there. So if it don't build 90% for 5 years, people that's there, now you're on rough roads that you end up having base failure and then this bond won't cover it.
Yeah.
So that's what, when I was in West Tennessee, is what we run into. We had subdivisions that were 10 years old that
Weren't completed.
weren't completed, and now they had base failure, and the bonds they had on file wasn't enough to cover the work that needed to be done to do it, and the developer, don't know if they would do it, the developer basically just said, take the bond, well, now you're out hundreds of thousands of dollars, because now will all these homes sell and be built within 5 years, 2 years, I don't know, but the market's not trending in the right direction for home buyers anyways. So just something in my experience, to be cautious of. If you're gonna
Need a
set the
little bit
bond.
more clarification on that, don't we?
Well, or that, or set the limit that it's, 80% build or 70% build in 5 years, or 4 years, or whatever. Just some experience I've been through.
Or to revisit it
Or
every
to
so often to make sure that it's adequate or.
Yep. One or the other.
Because I don't know if there's an acceptable standard that
Yeah.
is out there.
What do y'all usually run into?
So what I'm accustomed to is if it's 70%, like Metro, for example, if it's 70%, that time you can go through, get it topped out, and then go for your bond release, which entails everything from stormwater, water, sewer, curbs, which we don't have a sugar free, but it covers everything. As a company, our rule of thumb, now again, we've had a pretty good run here the last 6 years, so we run through product pretty quickly. As soon as we can, as soon as the dumpsters are out of the way, lulls are gone, all that, we're right behind them. In fact, this time of year is a good time to top coat. Starting to get wet and cold and, stone's not going down, roads not pushing down. So this is oftentimes, when we shoot to get it top coated. As a company, that's kind of our policy. We try to get on the bond as quickly as possible. Your point is valid about the market and 45 lots out there. I acknowledge that. But at the same time, as a company, I would say 70% complete would be the right time to apply to get the bonds released. But I've never been held to a standard of once it is 70% complete that I have to top it right then. Because I would wait for those last 6, 7 houses to get done because I'm still going to have dumpsters there and all that. So,
And that's great if the time period's a year or 2 years, but if it's 5 to 7 years, you're stuck with a mess in the subdivision. If the base starts failing, erosion starts happening, the city is going to end up with a liability.
I think there's the budget for the top is $90,000.
I think it's in their package. I think it was 98 something.
And to be clear, again, Rodney, we're dedicating everything on the plat, every public way on the plat, except for the stormwater system.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right? Including the road?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Or requesting for that to be dedicated.
Any further discussion from the board? Not, I entertain a motion.
Do y'all need assistance from Corey to figure out how that motion? This is the first, but it's the first of many coming in the future.
I guess, Corey, you need to provide us some assistance of where, do we need to make a motion that that's in there and it's 3 years or 70%, or do we just accept what's there, or vote yes or no on what's there?
Well, so if you're going to accept the final plat, I think you do need to set a bond for the amounts that Rodney announced earlier. If you want to put in and to revisit this 3 years from now or something like that, if that would make y'all more comfortable to make sure that.
For what's been submitted.
Yes, so the final plat is what they're asking for approval, but we're saying that not everything is done, right? And
Right.
so we also need y'all, if you think it's appropriate, to set a bond for the things that are unfinished and for the maintenance bond for the water and sewer. So that's the planning commission is called to do that.
We're gonna make them in separate motions, or we can make the one motion to accept the final plat with these.
With these caveats.
Yeah, with the contingent, because that will be on the plat, it's the bond, I think.
I'll be more than happy
Right.
to give you the numbers again. That way, everybody can write it down.
All right,
What's the projected deadline on completion?
As far as the 45 units go,
Mm-hmm.
well, I would say if you I would like to be top coated now there within 2 years. I think that would be a really realistic goal. Single family home used to run 5 months completion time. Now we're running about 9 months. In sales, we're seeing a little bit of a slowdown there. So, 2 years would be a great goal, but I can't promise you that. But it would be a great goal.
I don't see any other problem with it besides having 3 years or 70%, 3 years or 70% or something like
Yeah, I
that.
think I'm fine with that. I just
Yeah.
don't know exactly how to get it all in
You can try it this way.
all in the motion.
Corey, so would the motion be that we accept this and the bond limits that is provided, with the road bond being this for 3 years or 70%? Would that be?
With the, what was that last part with
with
the
the road bond being,
road bond? Okay.
this amount, but 3 years or 70%, whichever one comes first.
To revisit it at that time or to,
I guess they could revisit it, and the board at that time can make the decision on the pull it and do it or not.
I think that makes sense, just to keep it on everybody's radar.
And if he makes his goal, then that's not a problem, but we also give some leeway for us, the city, to be able to handle that.
Okay, so you're making a motion to accept the final plat with the bond requirements that Rodney mentioned, and that includes the remaining performance bond plus 15%, which covers stormwater
Yes,
only, and then also the maintenance bond for water, which goes 1 year
yes,
after approval or after acceptance from the city, and the sewer bond for 2 years after acceptance from the city.
That's correct.
Okay, with the caveat that the road bond, which already is in place, is revisited
3
3
years.
years at 70%.
70%, whichever comes first.
I have a motion
Just got it right.
Yep.
I'll second.
and a second. Want to do a roll call on this, please?
Sure. Ms. Granberry,
Yes.
Bobby Nutt,
Yes.
Douglas Marshall,
Yes.
and John Hunter.
Yes.
Thank you. Passes 4-0.
next on the agenda is item 2022-C-061, the final plat. This gentleman has asked to be deferred. They are changing some of the layout of that, so they have to resubmit a whole new final plat to even go forward with this project. So I'm asking you to defer this to December. Hopefully he'll have everything.
Does he want
completed.
December or January, or he specifically just wants 1 month?
He said December, but
I don't think you have anything else on the agenda for December's one.
right. So, you know, if he does have it all done, I don't know if he's actually going to get it done by December.
Well, if it's going to be a resubmittal, I mean,
Is there anybody here to speak on it, on their behalf?
I know Court is here. He did the surveying. The gentleman just asked me to do defer it.
It's gotta go through engineering again, so I would.
January.
It's gonna be scratched. It's got to be-
Yeah, I would push it to January.
Defer until they resubmit.
Yes, we'll just defer that because they did miss the submittal date for December's meeting already. So we'll do,
well, we're going to defer depending on the resubmittal.
Yes,
Yes.
that makes sense.
I'll make a motion. Yeah, go ahead, Jackie.
I make a motion that we defer 2022-C061 until a resubmission of final plat.
I have a motion
I'll second.
and a second. Do a roll call, please.
Yes.
Ms. Granberry?
Yes.
Okay, Bobby Nutt?
Yes.
Douglas Marshall?
Yes.
John Hunter?
Yes.
4-0 passes.
next on the agenda is 2022-C-072, another final plat for a Mr. Stephen Miller and Jennifer Miller. Have submitted a final plat for property located at Enterprise Road and Jackson Street, which is the corner property there on the property is further identified on tax map 150HA, parcel 021.00, and tax map 150HA, parcel 020.00. They have, the owners have owned both of these lots, so they're just combining them into one lot. Just doing away with that second lot line.
We're just moving a lot
They're
line.
just moving the lot line, they're just doing away with it.
Yeah.
Do you have any?
No, sir.
I'll make a motion, we approve 2022-C-072 final plat.
I have a motion.
I second it.
2 seconds.
You
I
second.
second it, yes.
God, excuse me, I'm kind of hard of hearing.
I forgot it. I'm sorry.
A motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Always confusing that.
Number 6, rezoning request.
There are none.
Number 7, annexation request.
There are none.
8, site plan request.
There are none.
Number 9, old business.
There is none.
10, other business.
Only thing I want to mention here is what we mentioned at the BZA meeting, that we're going to hold the people that ask to be on the agenda. We really want them present because we don't feel like it's our job to sell to you what they're asking for, and
Right.
sometimes we find out later.
True,
Yeah.
that's true.
So we make a request that they think that they asked for, and then later that may not be what they said. We want it to come out of their mouths. And so they've paid to be on the agenda. We think they should be present, and we're going to try very hard to make
Okay.
sure that we're
Very
very
good.
clear to anybody that's here, because we're making decisions and they're not here. That's
Yeah.
kind of crazy. And I think the Board of Zoning Appeals
Yeah.
felt that that was a good idea too.
Very good. Board staff comments? No citizen comments on here. Is there a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second?
Are we doing subdivision regs?
Adjourn.